Hi there, it's Debbie. I haven't been on YouTube for about a year and a half, and I just thought this new moon that's building in Gemini might be a good time to actually face and conquer challenges, because also at this time we've got this Uranus squaring Rahu and Ketu. And I just wanted to drop in to see if I had any audience still left out there in the astro land, as I know there's so many astrologers, because I indeed listen to quite a lot myself. Yeah, I just basically stopped doing YouTube videos because my passion really lies in reading one-to-one on an intimate level people's birth charts, so that we can recognize our likely gifts and talents, and also challenges, and also the karma that we are born into. I've recently studied over the last 18 months courses with most recently Susan Hopkinson, who is a wonderful astrologer who doesn't monetize her channel on YouTube. And also I've done other courses with people like Annie Botticelli. And in the past, I've studied with Nightlight Astrology for year 1, year 2, and Horary. I've done tuition with Michelle from Michelle's Midheaven, Michelle Courvoisier. I've done courses with Kelly Certes, and many more. And I'm always listening to different people on YouTube. So it's quite hard to know where to find my niche. But for me, recognizing my own strengths and not really liking to be that visible. There's part of me with my fiery placements that can shine and show myself. And also I recognize that with my midheaven in Scorpio and my Mercury Neptune in my 12th house of Scorpio, that I prefer to be more hidden and under the radar. So that gives me the opportunity to work really intimately and closely, both doing my healing work, using shamanic energies, using myself as a channel really to bring in love and healing and light. And also I really want to be able to share my own wisdom and strengths to support others through all the studies that I've done with astrology. And, you know, I know that there's a lot of astrology out there. There's a lot of pop astrology. There's a lot of what's called clickbait astrology, where there's these like really eye-catching, loud headlines and wonderful artwork that can draw you in and think, okay, what's all that about? And that's, you know, it's like making life seem like there's always these things happening. But really navigating and understanding your own birth chart is really it's the most important starting block for navigating our own lives, really. So everything starts with our own personal birth chart, which is a map of the heavens frozen in time, and it's unique to the individual, and it's likely to show where the planets shine their light in harmonious ways or more challenging ways. And it's always important to have a mix of both, because if we just had like flowing aspects like sextiles and trines in our charts, it can make us really lazy and expect things to happen for us. Whereas when we've got more dynamic aspects like the oppositions and the squares, these are more motivating and challenging for us to dig deep and to work through challenges in life. So yeah, and it's like I'm thinking about doing some teaching, because I am naturally a teaching astrologer when I read people's birth charts, and I'm thinking, how can I break this down? But so instead of maybe offering just my normal readings, if people are interested to learn astrology and use their own birth chart to recognize astrology in action, this could be something that I could offer if you're interested. Because when I normally do a long reading, it can be an hour and a half long, and I've prepared lots of notes, and then I don't have time to go over my notes, and I might email them afterwards. But I'm wondering about whether to break down the personal chart into maybe 3 or 4 sessions, so that each session is recorded, and it gives time for the client to work with me closely navigating different elements of the chart. For example, the elements, modalities, like whether planets are in earth signs, water signs, fire signs, air signs, whether there's a lot of cardinal energy, which are the signs of the tropical zodiac starting at the spring equinox, Aries, Libra, and Cancer and Capricorn, or whether there's more fixed signs in the chart that have planets in those zodiac signs and houses, or mutable signs. And then, you know, that's one part. Obviously, when I look at a birth chart, I look at, is it a day chart? Is it a night chart? Having studied both modern and ancient astrology, Hellenistic astrology, do we belong to the day or do we belong to the night? Is the sun our luminary that supports us, or is it the moon? So if you're born in the daytime, the sun is your luminary, and also the benefic planet is Jupiter, the larger, greater benefic. Jupiter would be on your team if you're born in the daytime, and Saturn would also be on your team if you're born in the daytime. So looking at those planetary placements and which hemispheres they're in, which houses they're in. And then conversely, if you're born in the nighttime, the moon is your luminary, insect, supportive luminary. And then you have Venus, the lesser benefic, and also Mars on your team. And then those benefic or malefic planets can cause, well, more than malefic planets can cause more challenge to you. And recognizing those challenges and where they are can just give you some more deeper knowledge of your life's path and where these challenges may come, where conflict or challenge or severing of ties with people, or that would be more Martian in the nature, because Mars is the warrior planet ruling Aries and Scorpio traditionally. And then Saturn is also, you know, he is the greater malefic planet, the distant one, Kronos, Lord of Time. He brings challenges because he's about coldness, distance. He's far from the sun. He represents burdens and responsibilities, perseverance and mastery of our skills and of shouldering our responsibilities. So looking at Saturn is really important. And then looking at the planets and their cycles. For example, you have a Saturn return around, what, 29, 30 years old. And then you have your second Saturn return when you're double that age, around 58, 59, 60. I've just come out of my second Saturn return. So I am an elder. I am a wiser woman. I'm a grandmother. I have lived enough life to be able to reflect on my life and try to harness my skills. And part of my purpose in life, I feel, was to support others and help others be self-aware and aware of your consciousness and your own potential. So those are things that really bring me alive and give me passion. And working one-to-one, I think, is an area that I excel in, working with others in a really trusting, intimate way. There's also other parts of the chart which are called the aspects, which are to do with the energies between the planets. And these if we don't use the minor aspects, which I believe are all quite tense aspects, we would use the traditional aspects. Conjunctions are when planets are right next to each other within, you know, a very small orb. Different astrologers use different orbs. Obviously, the closer the degree and minute, the more intense and powerful, but some astrologers would use up to an 8-degree orb of planets being in the same zodiac sign and a similar degree. And then you have the sextile, which is the nature of Venus, that's 60 degrees apart, and these can bring opportunities and flow to the energies of the planets involved, depending on the planets involved and which houses they're in, which area of life. Then we have the trine, which is the nature of Jupiter. These are flowing aspects, easy aspects, usually supportive and bringing benefits. The nature of Jupiter, as I've just said, so usually Jupiter is a greater benefic who brings gifts and abundance, or exaggerates whatever he touches. So again, you can't just think, okay, these planets are in trine, that's going to be great. It depends on the energies of the planets and also other aspects that those planets might be involved in. So we're like mosaics. There's all these different things happening across the chart. And then we have the square aspect. I might have missed that one out. That's a 90-degree angle. And that's the nature of Mars. And Mars is a malefic planet. And therefore that brings in a sense of having to come to this block or a 90-degree angle where there's people coming, for example, and you need to stop and look and negotiate where you're going next. So it's digging deep, it's working out where the blocks and obstacles are, and it can be quite motivating, but there's something that needs adjusted with that 90-degree aspect. So there's some challenge, and with challenge, if we dig deep, we can work through things and find inner resources and motivate ourselves and activate ourselves to take action, which is very Martian. I've mentioned the trine, the nature of Jupiter, and then we have the opposition, which is the nature of Saturn. So when planets are in opposition, there's this tension. There's similarities in oppositions because they share the same modality, such as, for example, Sagittarius Sun is opposite Gemini, which is air. They're both yang. Fire and air are both yang, as in masculine outward energies, and they're both of the mutable nature. That is the modality. So there's oppositions that need to balance things. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter likes the broader picture. Gemini is ruled by Mercury. Mercury likes the details and lots of information to disseminate. So there's similarities and oppositions that need to find balance. So when planets are in opposition, it can bring up what the other represents to you, or how you reflect upon others, or how others reflect back to you within relationship. So there is potential to find balance. So what else is there? So that's just looking at the birth chart. And actually a recent course I've just done with Susan Hopkinson was looking at the birth chart representing the energy that you are born into. So it's like we're not responsible for our birth charts, although there is a belief that we do choose to be incarnated into the time. So after looking at your natal promise and your birth chart, I would then bring in timing techniques. And I've studied quite a lot of different timing techniques over the years, because not all of your birth chart is activated at the same time. When you get transits like slow moving outer planets moving into a new house, for example, recently we've had Uranus move into Gemini. Wherever that house is, there's going to be 7 years of that Uranian energy activating that house of Gemini, wherever that is in your chart, for example. So transits is something I would bring in. I also look at the ancient annual perfection time lord, which means we perfect from the ascendant. You can do it from your sun and your moon, but perfecting from the ascendant brings you to a different house, and that area of life is going to be more significant, and the ruler of that sign on the cusp of that house. It might sound quite complicated. So basically you just have like one planetary ruler who's your annual perfection time lord for the year ahead. So therefore transits from that planet is particularly significant. For example, my 12th house, I'm in a 12th house perfected year from my last birthday, and that is Scorpio. So the ruler of Scorpio in ancient times was Mars. So Mars is my annual perfection time lord since my last birthday. And then moving to the next year, that will be a first house annual perfected year for me, and Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. So Jupiter will be my annual perfection time lord. Just for an example, without bringing up any charts, this is me revealing myself face on without hiding behind big images and being a tiny little square in the corner. So annual perfection time lords is a great timing technique. Fedaria rulership is another one. I studied this from Kelly Surtees, an Australian Australian astrologer who used to be on the astrology podcast years ago with Chris Brennan and Austin Coppock. So she's a great teacher. I learned Fedaria rulership, which is another ancient astrological timing technique with different chapters in the Chaldean order, having rulership on their own and then co-ruling with different planets. So therefore there's another layer there that we can bring into your timing, and also looking at your progressed lunar phase, which can symbolize how much energy is available from us within yourself and supportive around you for bringing projects to fruition. And there's like 3.5-year phases through the progressed lunar phases, from like balsamic moon, dark moon, which is the phase we're in right now, just before the new moon, and then new moon, and then crescent moon, and then the gibbous, and then the full moon phases. So just another layer. So at the moment, these are my ideas that I'm sharing, and working intimately one-to-one allows us to go deeper into different aspects of the chart, and building and going deeper and delving deeper and trusting more and recognizing things, and, you know, working on ourselves and recognizing truths about ourselves and recognizing what's happening in the heavens gives us a great tool. It's as above, so below. And know thyself, you know, from these ancient philosophers, and also just Hermetic teachings. The Hermetic house would be the third house, the joy of the moon, for example. So there's a lot I can offer if you're interested in an astrological reading. So please have a look at my website in the description below, where it says more. If you click on that, if you're interested in a reading, that would be wonderful. And if you're interested in doing some teaching with me, I haven't actually put that on my website yet. I'm just putting it out there because I'm thinking about breaking down my readings into chunks of maybe 3 or 4 sessions. So you would have my full attention, and we could focus on your chart and build up your own knowledge so that you can work with your chart and have a greater understanding of what's happening in the heavens, with different trends of the planets moving at their different speeds, with the acknowledgement of all the different planets and time lords and Fidaria rulers, and all of these layers which add great potential into knowing yourself and being able to navigate life's challenges at this time. So thanks for listening, and I hope to hear from some of you, and hope to continue walking this path of sharing astrology and imparting my wisdom to others, whilst navigating my own challenges in life too. Okay, thanks for listening, and bye for now.